Well, hey there, Elevate friends and family. Welcome to the first Elevate Church online experience for September. Yes, it's September already. It's great to have you with us. And I want to give a special shout out to those of you joining us for the first time. It's great to have you here. And please keep spreading the word, inviting people along so we can reach more people and build more people together. Speaking of which, on this platform, if you're on Facebook, you can like the page, you can like this particular episode, you can share it from there. If you're on YouTube, in the corner, bottom corner, our Elevate logo is there, and if you've got a touch screen, you can actually touch that and subscribe, click, and you're done. And by subscribing, you certainly position yourselves to not miss out each week when we publish a brand new online experience. Also, hey, share with your friends. Again, it's all about reaching more people and building more people. Now, this week we've got some super laid back worship. Our worship partners are We Are Messengers. So wherever you are, if you've got your headphones on or you're sunk into the couch or whatever it looks like, hey, join in. The words will be on the screen and worship from wherever you are.
When I was young, you called my name. I tried to run, but still you came. And you stepped into the dark, 'cause that's just the kind of God you are. When heaven seems beyond my reach, you still see eternity in me. You're turning ashes into art, 'cause that's just the kind of God you are. Yeah. It's in the empty tomb, it's on the rugged cross. Your death-defying love is written in your scars. You'll never quit on me, you'll always hold my heart, 'cause that's the kind of God you are. You gave me freedom from my sin. You told me I could start again. All the hurt is dead and gone. Now we're your daughters and your sons. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound. We once were lost, but now we're found. Forever you hold us in your arms, 'cause that's just the kind of God you are. Oh, it's in the empty tomb, it's on the rugged cross. Your death-defying love is written in your scars. You'll never quit on me, you'll always hold my heart, 'cause that's the kind of God you are. 'Cause you are holy, 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 high and set apart. You are holy, holy, holy. And God, that's who you are. Oh, it's in the empty tomb, it's on the rugged cross. Your death-defying love is written in scars. You'll never quit on me. You'll always hold my heart, 'cause that's the kind of God you are. 'Cause that's the kind of God you are. When I was young, you called my name. I tried to run, but still you came. Yeah. And you stepped into the dark, 'cause that's just the kind of God you are. Here in the darkness, I see the light of the world. Here in the chaos, there is peace coming to the earth, and all this will change in the most beautiful way. With a virgin mother and a baby's birth. And Savior, and oh Savior, a child and yet a king, the Lord of everything. Oh Savior, my Savior, Emmanuel has come with hope for everyone. What a Savior. And here in the mystery, Son of God and Son of man, dawn is now breaking. Through the skies of Bethlehem, earth meeting heaven, as one baby cries. Death started running, running, and salvation arrived. Savior, oh Savior, a child and yet a king, the Lord of everything. Oh Savior, my Savior, Emmanuel has come with hope for everyone. What a Savior. Oh, what a Savior. Oh, and lying in a manger is the Lord of Lords. All the power and the honor and the glory is yours. The one who came to save and to heal and restore. All the power and the glory and the honor is yours. And Savior, oh Savior, a child and yet a king, the Lord of everything. Oh Savior, my Savior, Emmanuel has come with hope for everyone. What a Savior. Oh, yeah, what a Savior. Oh, and lying in a manger is the Lord of Lords. All the power and the glory and the honor is yours.
So we launched a brand new series last week called Surprised by Jesus. And so this is week 2. If you missed the first week, you can either go back and watch that on this channel, or I actually recommend going onto our podcast. Just go to your favorite podcast app, search for Elevate Church Perth, and you'll find us. You'll find that episode. It's a cracker. It's hilarious. More importantly, it's something foundational that we can build our lives on. Well, hey there, Elevate friends and family. Great to have you with us today. Now, before I get into today's message, let me just either remind you or let you know that this is a thing. This QR code, if you scan it, it's going to take you to the Bible app. You need to have the Bible app installed on your device. And it's actually going to take you to a section called Featured Plan, or called My Church, which allows you to set Elevate Church as My Church inside the Bible app. And every week we post a featured Bible reading plan that aligns with what we've taught on that particular weekend. And it is a phenomenal resource. More and more of our team, more and more of our people are getting on, and weekly we're just going through that featured plan together wherever we are. So take advantage of that. It's a great resource, great opportunity. Okay. Have you ever had one of those days where everything just goes wrong? You know, you wake up, you go to make your morning coffee, and the coffee machine's not working. Then you get in your car ready to go to work or drop the kids to school, and you remember, oh, I forgot to put petrol in last night, and you haven't got enough petrol for the trip, nor do you have enough time to stop at the petrol station. You get to work and you realize, oh, I left my phone at home, which is like cutting off one of your limbs. Then you find out, you check your inbox, you didn't get the job or the promotion that you interviewed for, or maybe a combination of things made that day one of those days. And look, it's real life. This sort of thing happens, but what happens to you on one of those days? What's your attitude? What's your response? You know, if your attitude, does it kind of get hijacked by the things that have gone wrong? And if it does, do you find yourself just continuing to nosedive, or can you maybe pull out of the nosedive before things come crashing down? Well, here's a bit of a warning, because you know those days happen and they can ding our attitude as well. That's fine, but here's the warning: allowing a bad attitude to linger and to ultimately control us actually creates a ceiling over our life, and that ceiling will invariably hold you back relationally. It'll hold you back mentally. It'll hold you back financially. It can kill a marriage. It can sever your relationship with your kids. It can crop you out of business or career opportunities. And also, this I think is the worst of all, it can actually limit your relationship with God. Now, you've noticed that you and I, we don't always have control over our circumstances, but whilst that's true, and that's always going to be true, the mistake is allowing our circumstances to be the driver of our attitude, and ignoring or overlooking that one of the greatest superpowers that we have access to is the power to choose our attitude in any given set of circumstances, to be this, appoint ourselves as the CEO of our attitude, if you like, rather than outsource the CEO role to our circumstances. And we need to shape our attitudes, because our attitudes ultimately come back to shape us. Now, I'm not saying it's always easy, but I am declaring that it's always possible. So look, I'm going to come back to this whole thing about attitude and the importance of attitude. Now, last week we launched a brand new series called Surprised by Jesus, where over probably about 8 weeks, we're going to be looking at what are known as parables, which is like these teaching slices from Jesus, but the unique teaching style was where he would sort of tell an everyday story, a story that people in that culture would have understood, like a metaphor in a sense. And then he would throw the spiritual principle, the kingdom principle, alongside that and help them kind of connect these ideas. And this teaching and this style of teaching was far more than just information. It ultimately pointed to wisdom. It pointed to what it looks like to live according to kingdom principles, what it looks to like in everyday life to prioritize the things that God prioritized. So last week we talked about what's kind of known as the parable of the sower, but actually I'd put it to you, it's more about the parable of the four soils. And you can go back to our podcast and listen to that. I highly recommend it. It's also pretty funny, but it's foundational, absolutely foundational. Okay, today, here we go, a flow code. Scan this, and it's going to take us to another one of Jesus' parables. This one's recorded by Matthew. Matthew's one of Jesus' 4 biographers. And while you're doing that, let me just kind of give us some context. Now, if you've ever driven around some of the suburbs in Southern California, Nevada, Arizona, New Mexico, in the morning, you would see on a number of like street corners or at the edge of the Home Depot parking lots, groups of typically men just kind of gathered there, seemingly doing nothing. And yet what they are, in fact, is what's known as day workers, where they, for whatever reason, they don't have a permanent, reliable job. So they just kind of go to a street corner, and people who have businesses that need some typically unskilled or low-skilled workers would come by it in the morning, ideally, but it could be any time of the day, and offer some of them the chance to come and do some day work, agricultural settings, manual labor settings, etc. So it's pretty common, but it turns out this is not a new phenomenon. And so in the parable that we're going to drop into today, which is known as the parable of the vineyard workers, we see this exact same scenario come around. Now, this is it. Jesus starts to teach this parable. For the kingdom of heaven is like the landowner who went out early one morning to hire workers for his vineyard. So he's out looking for some day workers. He agreed to pay the normal daily wage and sent them out to work. Then at 9 o'clock in the morning, he was passing through the marketplace and saw some people standing around doing nothing. So he hired them, telling them he'd pay them whatever was right at the end of the day. So they went to work in the vineyard. Now, at noon and again at 3 o'clock, he did the same thing. And at 5 o'clock that afternoon, he was in town again and saw some more people standing around. So he asked them, "Why haven't you been working today?" And they replied, "Well, because no one's hired us." Well, the landowner told them, "Then go out and join the others in my vineyard." So a few things to know. Number one, the workday typically was 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. No unions back then, folks. It's a long day, a 12-hour working day. And so we see in the course of these 12 hours, we see a number of different groups of workers. We see the first group hired, so they would have been given the opportunity to work from 6 a.m. We see the second group hired at 9 a.m., the next one at 12, next one at 3, and the final group at 5 p.m. And all of them would have down tools at 6 p.m. We also see that the first group, the landowner agreed to pay them the normal daily wage. The second group, the 9 a.m. group, the landowner agreed to pay them a fair wage. But then there's no mention specifically of what he may or may not pay the other groups of workers. Well, that evening, the landowner told the foreman to call the workers in and pay them, beginning with the last workers first. So this is the 5 p.m. group. When those hired at 5 o'clock were paid, each received a full day's wage. Hello. What a generous, generous landowner. They got paid for 12 hours work, even though they actually only worked 1 hour. An unexpected, undeserved blessing. And we love those sorts of blessings when they come in to our lives. Of course we do. Well, when those hired first, the 6 a.m. group, came to get their pay, they assumed they'd receive more. I mean, it's like they would have been busting out the abacus and going, well, the 5 o'clock group worked for 1 hour, we worked for 12 hours, 12 times 1 day's wage equal. Wow, this is gonna be great. But they too were paid a day's wage. Well, when they received their pay, they protested to the owner. Those people, the 5 o'clock people, they only worked 1 hour. And yet you've paid them just as much as you've paid us who worked all day and, need we mention, in the scorching heat. They were not happy little workers, people. Not happy at all. And I get it. I've done the grape harvest. I've done the grape harvest at my wife's dad's village back in Italy. I remember doing it. I'm out there. There's the aunties there. There's the uncles there. They're all in their 70s. The aunties are like these tiny little humans, like 4'9", 70 plus years of age. And anytime, I was in my 30s the first time I did this, anytime that I went to pick up a full crate of grapes, they were screaming at me, Marco, no, put it down. It's far too heavy for you. And then they would come over, 4'9", 75 years old, and they would lift this box and full of grapes. And yeah, listen, it's undeniably hard work. And so there's one thing. Secondly, this 12-hour group, they went through the whole day, including the scorching heat. The 5 p.m. group not only worked for just 1 hour, they worked in the, well, let's just say things were starting to cool down. Probably a sea breeze. The sun had started way past the heat of the day. So look, it was unfair. So they protested. Well, here in Australia, we have a word for protesting. It's called whinging. Yes, Aussie slang, whinging. And people who whinge are known as whingers. And it's a pretty common Australian pastime. Chances are you've done it. Chances are you may have done it recently. Chances are you may even be tempted to whinge this week. Oh, is that jasmine rice? I prefer basmati. I can't believe Sunday night. Oh, I can't believe I have to go to work tomorrow. And then you go into work and, this traffic, or that idiot driver, and then, oh my gosh, that colleague that I have to work with, or that client that I have to deal with. Oh, it's just intolerable. And then you get home, your spouse asks you, how was your day, honey? And the first thing you start to tell is the whinging list. Here's the truth, people. Whinging will never lead you to a better life. And so it's kind of understandable that the first group were whinging. You know, like you paid the last group the same as us. We worked 12 hours. We went through the scorching heat. But here's what we need to understand. The landowner paid them exactly what he'd agreed to pay them. He didn't stiff them. He didn't short pay them. They started the day with a promise that at the end of the day, I will pay you 1 day's wage. And he literally paid them 1 day's wage. In fact, not only did he pay them what he agreed to, this first group had another enormous advantage over every other group through the day, and that was that at the beginning of the day, after they'd gotten up, gotten ready, gone to the marketplace, hoping to get some work, hoping to get some income, hoping to be able to put food on their family's table that evening, by 6 a.m., they had the security of knowing they were going to get paid a full day's wage. The people at 9 o'clock, they had to sweat for 3 hours. The people chosen at 12 sweated for 6 hours. 3 o'clock, the group that were picked at 5 p.m., they had gone 11 hours. And probably, I think it's safe to assume we're like, well, that's it. Potentially, I'm not going to be able to put food on my family's table tonight, and Junior is going to be going to bed hungry. So the first group got paid what was promised and hadn't had to endure the anxiety of wondering if they were going to get paid that day. So all actually was probably going well for them until they started comparing what they'd received with what others had received. Instead of gratitude, they started grumbling. So typically in Jesus' parables, every key moving part is a character. So in this case, the vineyard owner or the landowner, well, that's God in this story. And then the workers, that's us. And then we see that essentially within the workers, there's, at the end of the day, two groups with two very different attitudes. No doubt the 5 p.m. group were grateful, first of all, for getting an hour's work and then blown away by getting paid a full day's wage for just an hour's work. And then there's the other group, not so grateful bunch of whingers. And so we get to see ourselves in one of these two groups, especially when things don't go the way that we expected them to go. And look, on the surface, it kind of looks like an us versus them grumble. Like, oh, they got paid more, we got paid less, oh. But actually what we see is it's not an us versus them grumble, it's actually an us versus the landowner grumble. In other words, in this story, it's a group of whingers taking out their frustrations on God, actually pointing to God and saying, you're not doing your job properly. Calling into question his providence and his sovereignty over their lives. And this is a problem if we allow ourselves to be in that group. So I'm just going to drop 2 of Marco's pro tips that will help ensure we don't fall into the whinging category. And the first one is celebrate the wins, all of the wins, even the small wins. Celebrate the wins. And you have to be intentional about this, because chances are some of you could be like 100 things could go well, and then one thing go against your expectations, and that literally ruins your day and sets you up for a bad attitude. And so even like celebrating your wins can just be like everyday things. For example, you're here today, which means you woke up this morning. Woohoo! Because someday that ain't gonna happen. Hopefully, you had a shower, and if you did, probably you had clean, reliable, running water. That's a win. Likely you have a wardrobe full of clothes, you have a pantry with a decent amount of food in it, you have a car that actually runs, you have a job that you get to go to that God uses to provide for you and the people in your life. You probably get to go to a supermarket and access food that you didn't have to grow. Maybe occasionally you get to go to a restaurant and eat food you didn't actually have to make. These are incredible things, and these aren't things that everyone in the world has access to. So even just these very simple, everyday things are wins. They're blessings, and we need to actually remind ourselves of those things. And actually, as we do that, it has the potential to just kind of crowd out the things or chances of a whinging attitude. So celebrate your wins and then celebrate the wins of others. See, this first group, the 6 a.m. group, they missed a golden opportunity to say, wow, that 5 p.m. group had been literally stressing for 11 hours and they finally got some work and now they get to go home tonight just like we do and put food on their family's table. Wow, what incredible, incredible opportunity. What an incredible blessing. That is fantastic, but that's not what they did. They missed it. Have you got your big boy or big girl pants on right now? Because you're going to need it, because I'm going to ask you this question. Does it ever bother you when someone else gets blessed? Like, have you ever found yourself like grumbling, whinging, bad attitude because someone else got blessed? Someone in your sphere finds love and you're like, oh, how is it that they found love and I haven't yet found love? You've been waiting for God to show up in your finances and, you've even been giving, and then someone else in your sphere, their business starts to take off and they're not even Christians. Maybe you're stretching every month to pay your mortgage and you've cut all the fat and you're living as lean and as frugally and all of the financial discipline you can muster, and yet some people in your sphere, they're going for an overseas holiday. Oh, must be nice. God, why are you blessing them more than you're blessing me? And it's easy to get bogged down in comparison. It's easy. And get judgy, get resentful, get bitter, and like overstepping, not just judging the people, but actually judging God because you don't think he knows what he's doing. Well, then Jesus continues, he answered one of the whinges, friend, which is not like we're buds. This is like, how about you come into my office and let's talk about this. I haven't been unfair. Didn't you agree to work all day for the usual wage? So take your money and go. Like, I wanted to pay the last worker the same as you. Is it against the law for me to do what I want with my money? Like, what business is it of yours? I mean, should you be jealous because I'm kind to others? Like, that's awful. In fact, this word jealous, it kind of means like giving the stink eye, the side eye, like, But Vineyard owner is like, look, I haven't been unfair to you, and if I want to bless other people, that's literally none of your business. And here's a bonus tip. Always remember that the same God who blesses others has the potential to bless you. And guess what? You might even be next in line. Who knows? So those who are last now will be first then. This is Jesus' big mic drop statement. Those who are last now will be first then, like kingdom stuff. And those who are first will be last. So don't be preoccupied with where you rank on the list of blessings in this world. be grateful that Jesus chose you, and be, I guess, grateful that you were smart enough to respond to his calling and you decided to place your faith in him, that you made the list, the only list that ultimately matters, and that's the fact that your name, if you've made Jesus your Lord, your name is written in heaven. That's the list that matters. And when you get to meet God face to face, because I've had people say, oh yeah, when I get to meet God face to face, I've got my list of questions. Yeah, look, fine, but here's my pushback. I'm pretty sure that when you meet God face to face, you're not going to be thinking back to Harold in cubicle number 6 who got the promotion that you didn't. I don't think that's what your intentions are going to be focused on. I think it's going to be more of a, because you made the list, the only list that ultimately really matters. Okay, well, we're nearly there. Just before we land this plane today, I want to encourage you to keep going with your giving. It's very much a partnership. When you invest into Elevate Church financially, we are able to take those resources and reach more people and build more people. Now, you can give via our bank, by direct deposit if you're in Australia. If you're outside of Australia, or actually even if you are in Australia, just download our Elevate Church AU app. You can go to the giving section and you can actually give from anywhere in the world using a debit or a credit card. And so I'm just going to thank you in advance for your faithfulness, for your generosity, and we certainly appreciate working with you. Now, that's it for today. That's it for this week. Next week, we're continuing our series, Surprised by Jesus. Our incredible teaching team member, Steve Hall, super Aussie bloke, will be speaking. Surprised by rewards is what he's going to be teaching about. So I encourage you to be here. Maybe invite some friends, host a watch party, put on the coffee, slice up some cake, whatever it takes that we can continue this journey together. We look forward to seeing you next week.